After I politely corrected a senior manager's mistake, he scoffed in front of the whole boardroom. "Why are we even listening to the intern? Maybe go fetch some coffee instead, sweetheart." I bit my tongue as everyone chuckled uncomfortably. That night, I spent 6 hours compiling every error he'd blamed on me, and presented it directly to his supervisor in a private meeting he never knew was scheduled. I never thought my internship would end with me sitting across from one of the company's top directors, exposing every lie and mistake of a senior manager. But that's exactly what happened. Let me go back to how it started. I got the internship after applying to over 40 companies. I didn't have connections. I didn't go to some big-name school. But I was serious about logistics, and when I got the position at a mid-sized logistics firm in Louisville, I felt like I had finally gotten a foot in the door. I didn't care that I was just the intern. I came in early, stayed late, and paid attention. I wanted to prove myself. My manager was a man named Mark. I think he had been with the company for over 20 years. Everyone said he knew the business inside and out, but what I noticed first was that he talked over people. A lot. Especially if they were younger. And definitely if they were women. Mark wasn't the kind of person who hit you with open insults. He was the kind who added a little jab into every sentence. Sweetheart, princess, darlin', he used those words constantly when speaking to women in the office. Some laughed it off. Some ignored it. I tried to just focus on my work. He didn't take me seriously from day one. He'd throw random tasks at me with almost no context, and then blame me if something got missed. If I asked questions, he'd smirk and say things like, "Use your brain, you're in college, right?" Still, I did the work. I double-checked every spreadsheet, cross-referenced every report. I knew my numbers were solid. Then came the Thursday meeting. This was my first time sitting in on a leadership-level meeting. It was me, Mark, a couple other team leads, and some of the division's VPs and directors. It was tense, everyone was serious. I sat in the back, typing notes and trying not to look nervous. Mark gave the main presentation about our shipping cost trends in Q1 and Q2. I had helped gather that data. Actually, I'd built the spreadsheet that he was using. When he got to the slide comparing Northeast Corridor shipping costs over the quarters, my stomach dropped. He had flipped the Q1 and Q2 numbers. The trend he was talking about how we were saving money, was completely wrong. It was the opposite. I knew because I spent hours sorting and cleaning that data. I leaned in and whispered, "I think the Q1 and Q2 data might be reversed on that slide." Mark didn't even glance at me. Instead, he turned to the table and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Why are we even listening to the intern? Maybe go fetch some coffee instead, sweetheart." He laughed. Then a few people around the table chuckled, kind of uncomfortably. I saw one of the VPs shift in their seat. Someone else looked away. But no one said anything. I sat back in my chair, staring at the table, and felt my face go hot. I wanted to disappear. I didn't say another word. I just took notes and kept my expression blank. After the meeting, I went back to my desk and pulled up the spreadsheet again. I was right. He had completely flipped the data. And now the entire leadership team believed the wrong numbers. But what really got me wasn't the mistake. It was how he humiliated me in front of everyone. Like I didn't matter. Like I didn't know what I was talking about. Like I was just some coffee girl. I could have gone to HR. But people had already told me that HR was useless when it came to Mark. "He's been here forever," they said. "Don't waste your time." So that night, I went home, sat on my laptop, and started pulling everything. I dug through every email chain from the past 2 months. I saved every version of every spreadsheet I had worked on. I found 3 different instances where Mark had sent the wrong report to a vendor and then blamed it on me when the numbers didn't match. I found one email thread where he claimed he had created a pricing model that I had built from scratch. I found Slack messages where he ignored my correction about a routing cost, then later quoted it to a director as his own idea. I didn't write a dramatic report. I didn't make it personal. I just made a timeline. Mistake. Evidence. Who really did what? Dates. Links. I ended up with a 34-page document. The next morning, I printed it out. I knew who I was going to talk to, Susan Malloy, one of the directors who had been in the room during the meeting. She hadn't laughed. She had looked at me with a face I couldn't quite read, something between disappointment and pity. I sent her a short email. Hi Susan, I wanted to follow up on yesterday's presentation. I've noticed some discrepancies in the data and wanted to clarify a few things. Would you be open to a quick one-on-one today? I'll make myself available anytime that works for you. She replied within 15 minutes. Stop by my office at 2 p.m. I walked in that afternoon with the packet. I didn't act emotional. I didn't complain about Mark. I just said, I wanted to clear up some confusion about the numbers from yesterday. I thought it would be helpful to lay it all out. She didn't say much. She flipped through the first few pages slowly, reading closely. She asked some very specific questions. So this spreadsheet was sent on June 3rd, but this is the version with the error? Yes. And you created the original version? Yes, here's the email thread. It lasted maybe 20 minutes. At the end, she said, thank you. I appreciate you putting this together. That was it. I went back to my desk and kept working like nothing had happened. 2 days later, Mark didn't come in. Then more happened. The office felt different that morning. People weren't saying much, but they were definitely whispering. Mark hadn't shown up, and nobody knew why. Usually, when he wasn't around, he'd at least send a group Slack or a forwarded email with some sarcastic excuse. Nothing this time. By noon, people were talking more openly. One of the senior analysts said he saw Mark's badge get deactivated in the system. Another said they'd seen Susan Malloy walk into the VP of HR's office with a red folder and a serious face. I didn't say anything. I just kept my head down and finished a vendor report that Mark had pushed off for a week. Then, around 3 p.m., I got an Outlook calendar invite from Susan. Subject line, follow-up. It was set for the next morning. I didn't sleep much that night. Part of me felt good. Vindicated, maybe, but another part felt sick. I wasn't supposed to be in this kind of mess. I was just an intern trying to learn and work hard. Now I'd dragged a senior manager into what looked like a full-on investigation. I showed up early for the meeting. Susan's door was open. She waved me in and told me to close it behind me. She was calm, but very direct. I want you to know we reviewed everything you submitted. And we verified your claims. I nodded, not sure what to say. Mark has been placed on administrative leave while we go through the formal process. I can't speak to the outcome yet, but it's being handled at the highest level. I just want to thank you again for the way you presented this. It was professional and clear. I just nodded again. Then she added something I didn't expect, I'd like you to stay on past your internship. We have a junior analyst position opening up next month. It's yours if you want it. I was stunned. I hadn't even graduated yet. But before I could answer, she said, there's more. Apparently, when they started reviewing Mark's history, it wasn't just my packet that raised red flags. Other people had quietly filed complaints over the years, about his behavior, his communication, and yes, the way he treated women. Nothing ever stuck. But now that someone had laid everything out, they couldn't ignore it anymore. That's when the twist came. Later that week, I found out that someone from HR had leaked part of the situation to Mark. They didn't give him my name directly, but they hinted that an intern had brought forward a file. There were only 5 interns. It didn't take a genius to figure out who. 2 days later, I started getting weird emails. First from a fake address with no message, just a subject line that said watch yourself. Then another one that said, "You're not as clever as you think." I told Susan. She took it seriously and looped in IT. They tracked the IPs. One came from Mark's home network. That was the day the tone changed. They suspended him fully. HR reached out to me with legal documents. They said they were filing a formal complaint and that I'd be protected under whistleblower provisions. It didn't stop me from looking over my shoulder, though. And then something else happened. One of the other interns, Jasmine, pulled me aside in the break room. "I know what you did," she said, quietly. "Thank you." I asked her what she meant. "Mark made a move on me during our second week." I told HR. They brushed it off. Said I must have misunderstood. I stopped trying after that. That hit hard. I realized it wasn't just about the numbers. It was never just about the data or the coffee remark. It was years of quiet abuse that no one had challenged. Not until I finally said enough. But just as things were settling down, I got an unexpected call. From Mark's wife. I stared at my phone when I saw the name. Christine R., with a last name that matched Mark's. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Maybe HR forwarded my info by accident? But then I remembered, I had included email screenshots in my original packet. If Mark had access, even for a moment, he could have seen my full name. Maybe even my phone number. And now his wife was calling me. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, I got a text. "Hi. I'm sorry to contact you like this. My name is Christine. I'm Mark's wife. I'm not angry. I just need to know what happened. Please." I didn't reply. The next day, I got another message. "I found emails. I saw how he talked to you. I'm not defending him. I'm leaving him. But I need to know how long it's been going on. Please. Was it just you?" That stopped me cold. She thought I had been involved with him. My stomach dropped. I felt sick. That night, I called Susan. I told her about the messages. She sighed. Like she wasn't surprised, and said she'd notify legal. She told me not to respond. That they'd handle it. But I couldn't just ignore it. I needed Christine to understand the truth. So I wrote one message. Carefully. No emotion. No attacks. "Christine, I'm sorry you're going through this. I was not involved with Mark. I am much younger, and I am an intern. He made several inappropriate comments to me, some of them public. I reported facts, workplace mistakes and misconduct. That's all I can say. I hope you find peace and support." She didn't reply. Not that night. Not ever. But that wasn't the end. A week later, HR sent out a quiet notice. Mark's position was being restructured. He was moving on to pursue other opportunities. No farewell party. No speech. No email. Just gone. That same afternoon, a man in a wrinkled gray suit walked into our department. Someone whispered that he was from corporate compliance. They were doing a full audit of Mark's past contracts and vendor relationships. Things got weird after that. One of our longtime vendors, an independent freight broker out of St. Louis, was suddenly removed from our approved list. Rumor was they'd been funneling inflated rates into backdoor kickbacks. Under Mark's watch. People started whispering more. Some employees got pulled into private meetings. I was told to stay silent for now. My statement had already been filed. But it was clear this went deeper than anyone thought. Then Jasmine came to me again. She looked nervous. "Did you talk to anyone about the hotel thing?" she asked. I had no idea what she meant. Mark told me we had to stay late for a vendor call. He booked a hotel. Said it was cheaper than Ubering home that night. It was just him and me. I left halfway through. He got weird. I hadn't heard anything about this. But she wasn't the only one. A week later, another female employee from accounting quit without notice. No explanation. Her desk was cleared out the next morning. Susan started holding weekly meetings with legal. We weren't told what they were about. Then one day, I saw a man waiting in the lobby. He was mid-40s, buttoned shirt, expensive shoes. He looked out of place. He wasn't a vendor. He was an investigator. Mark wasn't just under internal review anymore. He was being looked at for fraud. And somehow, I had triggered it all. Things started unraveling faster than anyone could keep up with. By the second week after Mark's departure, whispers turned into real conversations. People weren't hiding their concern anymore. Everyone knew something big was going on, even those who tried to stay out of it. New names kept coming up. Meetings were being held behind closed doors, blinds shut, phones off. Compliance and legal had pretty much taken over half the floor. Then I got called into another meeting. It wasn't Susan this time. It was a guy named Darren from the corporate investigation team, along with a woman from legal named Colleen. I recognized her from emails, but this was the first time I saw her in person. No small talk. No fake smiles. Darren got right to it. We've uncovered evidence that Mark approved over $150,000 in inflated invoices over the past 18 months. You may have unknowingly been part of tracking some of those numbers in your reports. He wasn't accusing me. That was clear. But I could tell they needed help connecting the dots. So I walked them through everything I had done on those spreadsheets, step by step. The original vendor lists, the pricing model, the cost breakdowns I had flagged as odd but been told to leave alone. Colleen nodded and took notes. Darren leaned forward and said, one of the vendors, Midstate Freight Logistics, has no active business license. But we've paid them over $70,000. Ever seen that name before? I had. Mark had forwarded me an invoice from them once, asking me to just copy the format for consistency. That was the moment I realized something much bigger was going on. And now I was smack in the middle of it. After the meeting, I walked back to my desk and saw something strange. An envelope on my chair. No return name. Just my first name, written in black pen. Inside was a printed screenshot of my LinkedIn profile. And underneath it, in all caps, were the words, "Careers can be short." No signature. No clue who left it. I reported it immediately. IT checked the building's camera footage. But there were blind spots, especially near the printer areas. Security was tightened. The entire building got new keycard protocols. Suddenly, we were all scanning badges for every door, even the break room. Everyone was being watched. And then came the second wave. 3 more employees were suspended. 1 from procurement. 1 from accounts payable. 1 from Mark's old project team. All 3 had been approving or processing the fake vendor payments. Whether they were in on it or just lazy, didn't matter. The fallout was massive. But here's the twist that cut deepest. That week, during a new team meeting, Susan announced that Jasmine, the intern who had come to me earlier, was leaving. I caught her in the hallway. What's going on? She looked tired. Not sad. Just worn out. I got accepted into a paid program in Chicago, she said. I didn't want to stay here anymore. After everything. I just need a clean break. I understood. But part of me felt like I'd lost an ally. Someone who had been through it with me. And then I made a mistake. A big one. I tried to track down who owned Midstate Freight Logistics. I used my school email to sign up for a business lookup site, thinking it would be private. But within hours, I got an alert on my phone. Someone had tried to log into my internship work account from a Florida IP address. It didn't work, but it was enough for IT to pull my logs and see what I had searched. They called me into another meeting. Susan was there this time and she was pissed. "You can't go digging like that," she said. "I know you're trying to help. But this isn't a game. There are lawyers involved now. Criminal ones." I apologized. I meant it. I didn't want to screw up. I had just wanted the truth. But things were already moving fast, too fast for me to stop now. And the more the investigation went on, the more it became clear, Mark hadn't just made sexist comments. He hadn't just lied about data. He had been robbing the company. And somehow, the intern he called Sweetheart was the one who blew it all wide open. 2 weeks later, I was sitting in the same small conference room where I first showed Susan the packet. But this time, I wasn't nervous. I was tired. Worn out. Susan came in with Darren and Colleen again. Everyone looked serious. No smiles. No greetings. Colleen spoke first. "The investigation is done. Legal has everything they need. Federal investigators are taking it from here." I sat up straighter. "Federal?" Darren nodded. "We found interstate wire fraud. Multiple fake vendors. Some going back 3 years. Mark didn't act alone. But he built the system. And your report started the whole thing." Then Susan spoke. "There's something else." She handed me a piece of paper. A formal letter. "This is an offer. Full-time. Junior data analyst, starting salary included. It's yours if you want it." My throat went tight. After everything, I'd made it. But before I could process it, Susan kept talking. "We've also been in touch with your school. They want to talk to you about guest speaking. You're kind of a case study now." I didn't know what to say. That afternoon, Mark was officially charged. News spread fast. The company didn't name me publicly, but people figured it out. Some congratulated me quietly. Others avoided me like I was radioactive. That's when I learned something hard: revenge, even justified, has a cost. I didn't have friends at the company anymore. The other interns were gone. People were nervous around me. Like I might turn the spotlight on them next. But I stayed. I took the job. Because I earned it. I fought for it. And I wasn't done yet. A month later, I got a message. It was from Christine, Mark's now ex-wife. Just 5 words: "He's getting exactly what he deserves." I never replied. I didn't need to. I had already said everything I needed to say, without ever raising my voice. Mark thought I was just the intern. Now he's facing 10 years in federal prison. And I'm not fetching coffee anymore. I'm running the damn reports.